Did anyone watch Apple's keynote presentation? Yeah. Anybody get in their iPhone? Raise your hand if you can do it. Wow.
Yeah, doesn't have iPhone jack.
Because
I'm due for an update and like an upgrade, so might as well, right?
Who here thinks Samsung phones are better than iPhones? Nobody? As always, class, how do you begin? Your favorite thing to do? I think we had 16 people in here, so we're going to get into groups of 4. And there's a little group exercise we're going to do. There's an ethical dilemma that I'm going to hand out to each one of you. So in your groups, you're going to look at the issue, try to address it with your own spin on it, your own perspective, and let me know what you come up with. So, I mean, each person might have a piece of paper, but get into groups of 4. Is there anyone else that needs to turn in their articles? By the way, you guys, for those who just walked in, that's our new freshman, just graduated high school. Benjamin is going to talk a little later. Class about leadership and local context. Sure. Some. But it's a good one. I mean, in essence, you could put your own perspective on what you think should be done. Doesn't have to be textbook, but just have a reason why would you put it that way. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Yeah, I mean, just draw down bullet points of some of the other ones that you see in there. You have to write it down, write it down on
I would just pay it off. He's been happy and then do this.
Next thing is on the periphery, we found place like justice. Well, no, the name just means that public just sees excessively that it's not on the lake. So you have a limited time to live. So you have to walk out and back and then go we'll say it's a public, yeah, it's not like not really
Oh, I think that.
Some people are handling the five looks more sensitive on numbers, but that's the question.
And I said, well, he wants 3% of all.
Vision. Political assassinations can't be included.
Without this, That's the question that starts auditing. And what's your response to your report as the vice president is talking? And how do you answer that? The Russian order is according to Russian law. What's your response to as a company? And as a person? Anyway, is it a strict law? Doesn't make sense whether it's a security law. Yeah, I don't know, it's what it's law. That's right. Yeah, well, it's a VP. It's even drawing a question.
Does anybody have any questions about the issue? Any questions?
Yeah, so what is that manager exactly? Just like it's not.
Yeah, the sales manager, gets into the business. So he goes out and gets into the order. So for this one, he's been trying to get this bid for a long time. The company has got there, found out the relative.
was the way in. And so they're getting the bid, but under certain circumstances, they can't purchase it from here. Which is a lot of money. But this new bill will, increase profitability.
Yeah, but if people said like, why we're, so managing that, so.
What's that? No, it is, because number one, it's a state-owned business, so it's run by the government. So all businesses, they come here in the city of Chicago, and we go through kind of planning process to make all things, can't be handouts, which a lot of people get into. A lot of our governors have troubles with that. Letting somebody make contact with the mayors. So it's not a private corporation, so it's still a government state-owned company. So it is a legal practice. You make it down. Well, I mean, it doesn't really state. I mean, so that's really bad. You're like, hey, we don't need down, let's make our money. And everybody will do get found out, and we face consequences back home. You're always going to be back home country. This is just a place you are. That's an international community. So, what are the repercussions for that?
It wouldn't be wrong. We're getting this at 8%. We're doing
You come up with your own thing. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be what you think, I think. Tell me what you think. You're like, hey, it's hard to do that next 4 years. We get found out, we get fined, hopefully the fine's on 20% property level. Work, everybody wins, or somewhere, making more jobs for everyone else. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot that can happen. So it always goes back to greater good, lesser evil type of thing, but from a corporate standpoint, what are your morals as a company? What are your policies? Does everything go, how do you operate?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't bribe someone, when like some questions.
You guys, they were asking, Russia is culture might allow state owned, which means it's owned by the money is owned by the government. Everybody and then they look to say, they look to be reasonable, they should take but I was telling them,
Yeah, I mean, like,
people, increase around state, it's going to be stable, it's going to increase the economy, that's what I want to say. I'm saying it's really just, but to be honest, there's no relative to that.
I'm saying that you
guys have, the government owns it. The government is supposed to be having a process to make sure there's no corruption.
but then what's gonna happen, are they gonna do it?
By times, somebody else in there, or a government official, and then they just get handed it, and then later. That's something to consider. Another thing to consider.
Decision of all like precedents. How many more times have we talked about CEO of
You as a manager in that position, what do you do? And this is like all shops. People pick their promises. Right. And it was less. They do that with insurance stuff too, with the cars. So, say they go Volkswagen, has a car, the wheels are kind of fall. Right, they're testing this stuff. They go 30,000 miles, and the brake wheel comes on. And then the insurance company gets together and do risk analysis to say, a number of people would be killed, and what would be the loss of the company. Over there,
because sometimes
you can do it on. You guys have any questions?
Well, yeah, you can do that.
Hey, actually, that's a really good concept. Everybody gives their opinion, decide on what is the consensus. That's what you go. Majority of my-
Yeah, noticing people like that.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, you know what? Also, throw into, did everybody agree on what you said? Was it a consensus or the one person only, I think this is what we should do, right?
So
This is what happened. This is what happens like in board meetings. They all get together, they all sit around, and they talk about what should be done. Yay, nay. And that's what everything you want to do. Corporate policies, I think. So you guys are not actually
No,
that sounds good.
another year. I used to read like.
You can play the
So I stay right back.
Wow. Truthfully, I don't even understand what ethical.
Let me know,
Is
everyone, what happens? Hey, so, who all here is planning to go to graduate school for the MBA program? Just, yeah, we're planning on getting an MBA. Yeah. Or you're gonna wait to like get a job that pays for it or something. Makes sense.
So we're interruption. If there were some over weird things, soul descending.
Like, because you guys kind of figure each other out and go.
No, That's fine, that's fine, but. That's fine.
So,
But I mean, like, I'm waiting for a hundred.
the program they have, I look up at
I like taking what's happened. Oh, yeah.
University of Chicago is the Harvard of the Midwest. University of Chicago, in my opinion, is better than ours. So if you really have a college rankings, it depends on program. You're not supposed to go back and ask. Normally, University of Chicago is number one. Yeah, it fluctuates every year. So you might look like Harvard. But University of Chicago
I'm just thinking the opposite. Yeah, there is. Somebody thinks I mean, like I said, I feel like myself. I feel then I was at least voting with corruption, you know what's happening. Well, the deal's a deal. This deal, like, now we can start putting their contract. That's I'm just letting you it's fine.
Yeah, the deal's already done.
Yeah.
There was just a company.
You guys want to hear
There's
it?
a reputation. Alright, good luck out there, guys.
Additional info.
Yeah, you guys done? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll hang you up.
Yeah.
Hey, on a side note, you guys, people like me been around for a long time. But no, if you ever need any help, like, hey, what should I do about applying for a job? Or hey, you want to take a look at my resume? Or something like, strategizing in the direction you want to go or work. Always ask, email me, give me a call or something. I'll try to help you out as best as possible. That's my whole thing, is trying to develop strategy. But, all right, we will begin with group number 1. What did you come up with? But, first of all, one person read the first paragraph, and then one of you guys read the second paragraph, just so we can understand.
You are the VP for global sales of a telecommunications equipment company. The accounting manager of your company recently brought to your attention an unusual charge of a 3% commission to a purchasing manager in Russia with whom your company had recently started doing business. One state-owned manufacturing company in Russia, for privacy sake, the Wakata company R, submitted a bid for a large order of your equipment. You remember being surprised to get the contract with R because your company had never been able to do business with them since it started here in New York. As it turns out, your new sales manager for the region had a relative in R who promised to supply him with all of your competitors' bids if he paid him a 3% commission on all the sales to his company. The area manager accepted this arrangement. He got the competing bids and secured the deal with your company.
What would you do given the following? 1, you refuse to accept the business without any legitimate reason. Presently, there are none. Your company will be blacklisted in that country, which amounts to about 20% of gross yearly profit. 2, if you accept that the business and do not pay a 3% commission, the purchasing manager will make much trouble when you receive your shipment. No doubt he will not release the 5% pay guarantee that there is enough quality and quantity of material. 3, if you accept the business and pay the 3% commission, you feel that it would malign your company's reputation and your values.
All right, so what did you guys come up with?
Okay.
What did you guys?
Well, we kind of had some differences in opinions here. So 3 of us decided we wanted to accept the business, and the reason for that was because we thought it was a pretty big market. So maybe down the road there's like more opportunities to grow, and also because it would be a huge loss because it was like 20% of the yearly profit. So that would be something that we would be giving up. Also, it said that there were no legitimate reasons to not go through with it, so I think that was one of the things that convinced us the most. And also because we don't want to be blacklisted. And then I think you brought up that maybe down the road there would be benefits to not just the company but the country's economy.
Okay. So you guys differ. You're saying some, the economy get larger, more jobs, better opportunities. Some people are saying, no, don't do it. It's not going to be in the future.
So we said, we're just gonna go with corruption and just accept the transaction and just, go with the flow. I mean, just, considering the idea that being in Russia itself, some type of transaction, some transactions will consider it as part of the business, not a bribe. So we thought, we will just, the commission of 3% and just, get as much profit as we can. And why, as I said, I mean, just it could be just considered as part of the business, that's all.
It's just a part of the business in Russia. So you're not necessarily doing anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, even if we get caught, we can just pay out even more. It's okay.
Did everybody agree with that?
We all agreed to pay 3% because this guy is getting us these contracts, even though he did it already. Like at first we didn't agree with it, but we got a very good business from it. So we're just gonna pay 3% and then deal with the repercussions later. And then when we need to find the guy, we just blame it all on him since we are paying 3%.
So you kind of strategized to put yourself in a unique position that you will work with this guy. You're gonna pay him 3%?
Yeah.
Or you're not gonna pay him 3%?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Where do you deal?
Yeah, so basically all the risk goes on him.
Yeah,
Okay. And even your manager, you probably fire him by saying you didn't really know. You didn't have the information that you got that legally, however you got it. Okay. Last but not least.
So, I mean, it's already happened, and since we noticed it, it's already on our books. And since we're doing this for state-owned government, I feel like it's public information at this point, right? Because on our books, like, if someone comes in and audits us, like, they're gonna find it out too.
Mhm.
So either we need to,
So you can't hide it. anymore.
yeah, we can't hide it there, so we're kind of like saving face at this point.
By going along with it, or,
Personally, I don't want to go along with it, but you also can't just, you can't destroy the reputation at the same time.
yeah.
So like personally, I'm gonna try and find a loophole to get around having to pay this guy his money. I don't wanna work with him personally, that's how he's gonna do business, but you've already got your foot in the door with the company.
Mhm.
So who says you really need him down the road anyway? Like if you build a good reputation with them, maybe they'll be on that and stuff, I don't know.
So even by telling them, you have even more to lose, because people will start to look at your business practices.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
hey, it's people.
it's on the books already, and once you're gonna start like tampering with your numbers and everything. And pretending like you don't know about it, I don't really know. Personally, I don't agree with it, but you also have to be smart about how you do it, and since it's already happened once, I feel like you have a little bit of time before the next order comes in to kind of figure this out, deal with it, and there's gotta be repercussions, probably gonna have to let them go at some point, but
Maybe you can renegotiate.
yeah.
All right, interesting to see. There's no real answer to the question on what to do. It really just depends on who you are as a person and as a manager. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk on a bigger scale of corporate social responsibility, the ethics of a company, ethics of a manager, why it's important, and also how it relates to value. How it can actually help the company to be very ethical, as opposed to thinking that it was only hurt function by taking it away. So one of the things I thought about was, well, here's a company. Here's yourself. And let's say what makes the company great? Let's say what makes you great? This is explaining right here would be you as a manager. Optimally, you will transfer to the company and you can make them great or make them big. Not necessarily great, but it's not great. So let's say we'll do two extremes. On one extreme, hey, what makes you great? What do you think makes you great? What makes you great? What makes someone great as a person? Their values. Let's think realistically. What do we all think we need in order to be great?
How?
Power? I'm pretty sure everybody wants some sort of power, I suppose. How about money? How about material things? That's probably how we perceive and judge others and value them and say, the person's great. Look how rich they are. How much power they have. The same applies for companies. Money. Let's say operating within the law. We're not going to say illegal money. But that's a relative term because a country or a region you're working in has different laws, etc. So let's say within the country or region, within the region. Now the opposite end, well, let's say, how do we get here? What are some of the things that get us to power, money, and buying material things that we perceive to be great to us? We're just born with it. Some of us are. Like, I mean, what are some of the things you guys are doing in order to move towards, hey, I want to have a nice car, a nice house, etc.
Education.
Education. For a company, it's the same thing. It's information. You want to have the best, most up-to-date information. And that's how you make your decisions. All decision making is based on good information or bad information. How else did we get here? We use all right, let's say outside of this, what is the opposite of these components? What are some things we can actually utilize? Let's say usage, right? So let's say how we can use information in education.
How would you use them?
Yeah. Alongside with this money. What are you going to use it for? So maybe you can make more money, right? But that's one perspective. Let's think of a broader term. Maybe we use it for good things. Maybe we use it to help others. And that's the opposite side. The side we don't really consider that much. Helping others for service. Why is this important? It changes people's lives. So think relatively, if there's an entertainer, athlete, musician, political figure, how do you perceive them to be great people? You say one person's great because they have money and power and influence. Or would you say that they're great because the way that they utilize things to help others, to combat social issues? And how much more does that make them a better person, a greater person, a perceived image of greatness? You guys kind of understand what I'm saying? That's essentially how you have to think as a manager relative to a company working overseas. Yeah, you're gonna make money. Yeah, you want a big bottom line. Where do you draw the line? Do you say it's all about this as a person? Or do you say, hey, you know what, I use that to come back at the end, after I've made money, after I bought all the cars, the big house, I start a program, start an endowment, I create things to help people and change people's lives. So essentially, what we were talking about here with Russia, we kind of gauge to see how people's perspectives is. You know, is it short term? 20% for a year. Was it long term? 10 years, 20 years. How is that sort of mind frame going to impact you 10, 20 years down the road? If that's just the policy we set. Hey, we do business the way they want us to do business, and that's it. So that's something to greatly consider as a manager. So you guys adopted two different approaches. Let's say philosophical managerial approaches. Some of you guys were saying this universalism. Where you set a standard. And you follow it wherever you go. You say, hey, this is how my company operates. We don't go beyond these boundaries. If we find anything that goes against company policy, we nip it in the bud. We don't allow for these things to happen because we know down the line that's not who we are or who we want to be or where we're going. Or you adopt a regional approach. You say, I do business the way everyone else here does. And so going back to Russia, you say, hey, this is Russia. Play ball. And it's not illegal here. Maybe our headquarters are in the United States, but this particular business operates here. We're working within their laws, we're not breaking any laws. This is just a method, this is the culture. Will you face backlash in the United States? Back at the headquarters for that? If you ever get found out? You can apply to child labor laws. Say, hey, well, we got a small manufacturing facility here outside Chicago. We pay them $20 an hour to create clothes. Then we got another subsidiary in Bangladesh that makes clothes. They make 65 cents an hour. So these are a lot of things to consider when making these types of decisions. And once again, it's all relative to your style. What is your managerial style? Are you a bottom line person? Are you a middle person? Where you do a little bit of both? You provide a little bit of leeway, wiggle room to kind of, we're not going to be completely illegal. Maybe just a little bit. Or we'll play ball, but we'll tweak the numbers a little bit. How far we're going to play ball. Any questions? So CSR, corporate social responsibility. Does everyone have a good idea what that means? I know someone asked last class, like, what is that? What is CSR? Were you guys taught CSR in like previous classes? So corporate social responsibility. This focus right here is doing good primarily just for the sake of image, right? You want a good image. Why you do good? Because you want to be perceived a certain way by your consumers, by your stakeholders. So let's say perception of goodness or good practices. How are some of the ways you could implement corporate social responsibility? Like, what are some of the things you would do as a manager? What would you create? What would you develop? What would you execute?
I watched a video about Nike. They actually created basketball courts for neighborhoods, like in the world. So that would be the service.
So Nike created basketball courts, right? So facilities for communities, right?
Yes.
Community basketball courts. Anything else?
Tom's has like a give back.
Tom's shoes.
Where we partner as a
So Tom's do all these really great social programs and give away things.
Just pay a fair wage.
Fair wage. Fair living wage.
BP company, British Petroleum, they actually provided like facilities to purify water in Algeria.
Okay. So water purification programs. So if you did all of these things under corporate social responsibility, you're looking towards image. How does the world perceive? Do they perceive us as being beneficial to the community, etc.? And there's the bottom line. Sometimes you do lose money on this practice. And so there's been another practice that's been developed that actually helps people, and it also makes you money. And that's creating shared value. So where this is CSR, this is CSV. Corporate social responsibility is a short-term managerial plan. CSV is long-term. What you do under CSV as opposed to what you do to CSR is, like I say, CSR is giving away money. It's sort of charitable donations. A lot of times it's written off on taxes, but you gotta lose money. A lot of companies don't. But it's really just a market. It's a tool of marketing. How do you market to say you're doing this and that, so that you keep a good image and good perception of your company, your brand, etc. CSV, on the other hand, works directly that things impact the company. So this is just your immediate environment. You're doing things that will come back to you. So for example, we talk about water purification. BP to implement something that would allow people to drive more. So you create a shared power. You create a program where people drive more, therefore they get more oil or gas. So you create programs to help people gain an economic footing. Right? Creates more jobs. If it creates more jobs, it creates more consumers. So if it's selling a product or service, you see that it's coming back to you now. You can do all type of metrics to see exactly how much down the road, depending on the population, that you help increase the jobs, how much you get back. Well, I don't want to take too much time because Benjamin wants to get up here. We'll stop with this for now. And I'd like to introduce Benjamin Wolf. Benjamin is former State Department, former FBI, former political assassin.
Not officially.
Not officially. Well, everything's classified. He even sends me emails and it says, literally says classified, unclassified. Because once you're in a mine, you're always in a mine. So I'll let him talk. But something very funny. Something very funny about Benjamin. So obviously Benjamin has seen a lot around the world, right? We're talking tragic things that many of us hope we would never see or experience in real time, in real life. And so we're eating at Denny's down on Harlem, and we were just talking about like, hey man, we're in Afghanistan, in Libya, Tunisia, in Iraq, during the Iraq War, during the Afghan War, like the things you saw up front and close, being on the ground. And he said to me, he was like, Zach, I asked him because, you know, he's kind of monotone all the time, so sometimes he has to catch his jokes, and like, and so I was like, dude, why are you always like stoic like this? He was like, man, he said literally if someone's head exploded right now while we're eating breakfast, he's like, I would continue to eat breakfast.
Hi. Again, as Zach mentioned, we know each other through school, both finishing our doctorate degrees downtown, and we met during residency. And I'm always looking for classmates. At the PhD level, they call them cohorts. I'm always looking for fellow cohorts that are involved, that are actually practitioners of the things they're teaching. And I hope you're appreciative of Zach as a professor. He's a true practitioner. He has his own businesses, he owns a few buildings. He's actually doing the things that he's teaching you here. It's wonderful to have professors like that. Many of your professors have never practiced in their fields. Many of them don't have the great experience that he has. So be appreciative of solid professors like that. And with regard to this exercise we just did, this is very real. You know, I never took business classes. I'm not a business person. But working and living overseas, you will find that these ethical dilemmas come up every day. You know, I talked to my group for a little bit about working at different American embassies. I'll go through my bio with you in a minute, but it's very normal to have someone in a foreign country who's kind of a fixer or a local liaison that helps you get business and helps you accomplish the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And it's really easy to get pulled into this, oh yeah, we're paying 3%. Don't give into that. Don't give into corruption. Don't give into influence or extortion. You know, you're here to learn business and also ethics. If you're already giving into corruption at 20-something years old, just imagine what happens when you have a big business and there are millions of dollars on the line. You know, we had a mock board meeting, and I was the only one to say no. In the absence of proper leadership, do the right thing.
A side note, you guys, too. Also, me and Benjamin both have psychology as our doctorate background. So everything we talk about is behavior, observing people's behavior, but we do it on a global scale. How do you observe and see the little nuances in how people do things around the world? How do you perceive their religious beliefs and to work around things like that? Their ethics, their morals, their behavior, their system, their history, their anthropology. So a lot of stuff we think about is perspective and perception. We essentially try to see how people think. Even I observe all of you to get a psychological profile to see who you are as a person, how you think, what you're going to say, and how you're going to behave. But no, continue.
Sure. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and I went to a state university. And during my university time, I did an internship in DC, and I was recruited by the FBI right out of college. I met a woman who seemed very mysterious at the time, and she said, hey, what do you want to do at college? I said, I'd love to work for the federal government. It seems like a great place to work. I can travel. And she said, hey, you should fill out this application. I said, what is it? She said, I actually can't tell you what it's for. So of course I filled it out. And a few months later, you find out what it is, they call you and they start doing a background check. So after graduation, a few months later, I checked in the FBI Academy of Washington, Virginia, and was immediately assigned to my graduation. This is one of the assistant directors of counterintelligence, counterintelligence. That's at the Academy. That's our graduation. I was immediately put into a counterintelligence, counterespionage, counterterrorism group. Our money came from the United States Congress strictly for those three things. So we basically chased around, chased spies around the country and then overseas from time to time. During my time at the FBI, I was there first. November 11th, I was the first FBI responder to the Pentagon. I was part of the emergency response team, the chemical weapons hazmat team, and that gets into some pretty interesting cases. And if somebody has interest in the FBI, we can talk about that offline after class. After being with the FBI for 5 or 6 years, I said, I'd really like to get overseas. I think it'd be interesting to work and live overseas. So I joined the State Department. They were taking foreign service officers. They were looking for diplomats at that time. And the war on terrorism had started. Globalization was really taking its hold on the world, and they were looking for people to go and spend time in embassies. Foreign service officers or diplomats do is we go and live overseas. We are the local liaison to the American government. So I lived in places like Algeria. I heard Algeria. Are you Algerian?
No.
Okay. Lived in Algeria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Pakistan. I was mostly in Africa and the Middle East. Lived in Senegal, Morocco, Mali, Mauritania. I spent 15 years almost essentially overseas. It's China. I was selected to travel with the Secretary of State and the President for 2 years. I was at the United Nations for a year. That's Air Force One. It's the best way to work in the world. And then, after 15 years of being overseas, away from friends and family, and being in this very strange world, I said, I think I want to go back to America and finish my school. And the State Department said, great, go finish your PhD. And 3 years later, here I am. And that's on ZACK. Me and ZACK have known each other for a short while, but like I said, when you find people like ZACK, as practitioners and good speakers, migrate towards people like that. Find people that are active and always trying to further themselves and evolve as people. Very important. And so when ZACK asked me to come talk to you, he said, I asked him, what do you want to talk about? He said, talk about culture and leadership. I was up all night trying to figure out how do you merge culture and leadership. And I think I figured it out. 6 years ago, in the New York Times, August 1st, 2010, there was an article in the business section. A very prominent businessman was being interviewed by the New York Times, and they said to him, they asked, the final question for the interview was, what advice do you have for young men? What is the one piece of advice you can give all young people that are graduating from college? He said, that's easy. 3 words. What do you think they were?
Be super patient.
What's that?
Be super patient.
Be patient, not bad. What else? What are the possibilities? What are the 3 words that can change your life?
Money, money, money.
Well, leave the country. Get a passport, leave the country. Why would a prominent business leader tell young people to leave the country? What's that? Okay. That's the big picture. But let's think about it, let's chop it up into smaller pieces. When you're planning a trip overseas, how many of you have traveled overseas? Excellent, excellent. How many of you are born overseas? Maybe. So let's think about something. If you're a business executive and you're trying to find the best possible talent, what are the characteristics you're looking for? Let's frame it in a very simple way. You are going to take an international trip. You're going to go overseas. What is the first thing you have to have? Open mind, excellent,
Adaptability.
brilliant. But the first thing is what? Initiative. I want to go somewhere, I want to do something. So you're showing initiative. Then, what's the second thing you do when you're planning a trip? Where am I going? How am I getting there? Logistics. How am I paying for it? Financial management. Who am I going with? I'm going to travel alone. Self-reliance. I'm going to go with a group. Group dynamics. The ability to communicate well overseas. Foreign languages. The ability to communicate at all. Communication skills. Somewhere on your trip, you're going to encounter some problems. Problem-solving skills. These are all the qualities that you're looking for in a manager. Traveling overseas, you're learning new cultures, new things. You're enriching your life. You're getting your passport. You're learning about currency. These are all things you as business people should be doing as often as possible. So I've lived in Africa, lived in the Middle East. I've traveled around the world dozens of times. What does that do for me?
Well, as a businessman, if you're trying to open up an international, or if you're trying to go overseas, you have a business there, you know how the people are, you know different cultures, you know what interests them, if they're compatible.
Good. It's giving you experience. There's a better slogan for experience. I like to call it street credit. When you have street credit, you have experience, you have cultural competency, and you have all of those skills we just talked about: adaptability, team building, flexibility, financial management. Makes you a great manager. You take all those things, you couple those with experience and street credit, that's leadership. If I say to you as a class, listen class, I know you want to move that way. That's the easy way. That's the corruption way. I want you to come with me this way. Are you going to follow me? Hopefully. That's leadership. That's why you're in college. That's what you're here to learn. You're here to build on these basic skills to make you a better person, a better adult, a better manager, and ultimately, a better leader. I've never forgotten that article. If you don't have a passport, please get a passport. Leave the country. Buy a ticket. Study abroad is a tremendous way of doing that. It's rolled into tuition already. You're going to have to take out a month. Get overseas as soon as possible. Questions? Anything. Ask me anything you want about the FBI, State's Department. I worked at Interpol. I chased fugitives around the world. Any questions? Yes.
What are the difficulties you faced, going around the world? Like, you went to really more than 20 countries, and what was the hardest thing that you faced in, every time you go to another country?
Perfect question. The most difficult thing for me was cultural competency. And I know that sounds strange. After you travel abroad, you think you would just get that. Every country, and this is perfect question for this class. Every country you go to, every city you go to, every culture you meet is going to be completely different than the next. You may think that they're not. Believe me, they're all completely different. From the villages, to the towns, to the cities, to the regions. I was the worst offender. I was born in a very small town. I took my ideology, the way I was raised, the way I thought things should be, and I forced that a lot of times overseas. It doesn't work. I found that out the hard way many times. It's incredibly humbling. That's what the travel does for you. It teaches you, this part of Brazil is completely different from this part of Brazil. Understanding culture, understanding people, understanding languages, truly the most challenging aspect of our jobs as diplomats, as government employees, and kind of as humans. I mean, anytime you travel, you are a diplomat for this country or for your home country. And it's incredibly difficult to put your prejudices, your ideas, the way you're raised, all that aside, and try to be a part of the community you're actually in, and to learn from them. Incredibly humbling, but the most wonderful thing you can do.
Did you ever compromise your personal ideologies?
Not yet. Not yet. I live a very strict lifestyle. Always have. And maybe that's bad. I'll be the first to admit that. I'm not as flexible as I should be sometimes. And that goes with cultural competence. You're going to learn when you're in Algeria. Listen, you're going to sit, you're going to have tea 4 hours before you can even think about talking about business. 4 long hours of very strong tea. And you're going to meet their family. And then you're going to meet their extended family. And then you're going to go to the village. And you're going to do crazy things and have great experiences. And that's part of learning new culture. And that's how you start getting business relationships, personal relationships, government relationships. In America, as many of you know, if you weren't born and raised here, we're very business oriented. We shake hands, we stand far away from people, and we talk about business immediately. Slow down. Learn the culture, learn the people, understand that cultural competency will make you a better leader, a better manager, a much better business person. Yes.
So when you actually go to other countries, do you study and read about them first, or you just go and experience whatever happens there?
What would you do?
I would read, I would read a lot. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm awkward a little bit, you know what I mean?
That goes to culture, cultural competency, and what they call cultural intelligence. ZACK program is called International Psychology. It's basically the international way of looking at psychology, human rights, marginalized populations. And the first thing they teach us is cultural competency and cultural intelligence. And one of the ways of doing that is reading about the place you're going. What time's class?
11:15.
Okay. So yes, read, study before you go travel someplace. Know where you're going, what the people are like, what you're doing.
What languages did you speak?
Speak a few badly. That is my piece of advice. Where this man said to leave the country, my big thing is learn languages. If you are not a part of the conversation, I mean literally part of the conversation, you don't exist. Translators are wonderful, but start learning languages now. Many of you probably speak Spanish, English, French. Learn a challenging language. Challenge yourself. That can be part of your semester abroad. Challenge yourself to learn Russian, Farsi, Urdu, something crazy, Serbian, Czech. It will serve you volumes in the future, I promise you. Last question.
Mine is wrong with language, like 3 tips that you have us when you travel. The fact that you can't learn every language you have, so there's no way to put them together.
And we're incredibly fortunate. English has become the language of business. So easy for us. But I'm telling you, it goes along with cultural competence and relationships. If you can learn another language, they will respect you so much more. Start now. Think about it. Starting now when you're 40 and my age, you will have 20 years of that language under your belt. You'll be a whole different person. It will serve you well, I promise you. It's the one thing I have regrets about. I have 2 regrets in life. One is that I didn't study languages. Just I hope. It's just for me. Any other questions? I think Zach and I are going to get some lunch downstairs if we have more questions.
So going to what Benjamin's saying, you have to break the mold, right? So we all have our groups or our little cliques, right? We have our culture here, whether it's sports, whether it's an ethnic background, whether it's a neighborhood or a city. And there's a level of trust. So you as an outsider trying to come penetrate these groups, you have to build that trust. And that's how you get effective management. managerial things. Last but not least, Benjamin touched on this, so in psychology we learned this, IQ, CQ, EQ. And always remember, you can have 160 IQ, Harvard, and $1 billion. But if you have low emotional intelligence and low cultural intelligence, you are still very much there.
I have low emotional intelligence, I'll admit that.
So emotional intelligence is people who can't control their emotions. You talk to them, they get excited, they get frustrated over your words, your gestures. Can you perceive other people's body language? Do you talk from the side? Do you talk from straightforward? This is very important in communication with other people from other walks of life. And cultural intelligence. You're closed-minded, you're not willing, and what you say is universal and right, then you know what? You're not going to get from it. And that's just really what it is. So try to always increase cultural intelligence and try to work on your emotional intelligence. And as you're in school, you're increasing your intellectual intelligence. All right, that's it, class. See you next time. Have a good weekend. Yeah.
And then what they train
It works for them,
yeah, they train you to raise that. And take care of it. You know, I worked in that, my big thing is just in Washington. I did 8 grades, for the DC, so this is where I can do.
Yes.
So, you know, get to DC, go, just get, and things will happen. Yeah, do as many internships as you can, experience for
I did one when I was like, some insurance basically what it was, and then I didn't like that, but I think we go to DC one year.
That's what's great about internships. You don't have to want something that you don't want. It's like having much of a natural. You know what
Thank you for,
you're welcome. You're welcome.
So, mention that. I don't know how to take that. Like I say,
Yeah, I was familiar with your teachings, but
this is a preference.
other than one semester.
They say, I mean, it's going.
It's going, it's going.
It does, yeah.
It's always
No, it's good.
what?
Yeah, we love the thing. I'd rather come here than go to Mark. What do you guys say?
This is way better. Yeah.
This school has nothing on Harvard. Harvard has nothing on this school.